So this next technique we're going to review is a worm's eye view. Again, still 3-point perspective. Again, just kind of walking through basic steps that you want to make sure you understand for the setup of this design. First thing that I want to point out is that with a worm's eye view, your horizon line should be down towards the bottom of your paper. So again, worm's eye view, you're a worm, you're inching along on the ground, so your eye level is going to be down towards the bottom or lower area. And then on that horizon line, again, you're going to be establishing 2 vanishing points. You want to make sure that they're on the outside edges or the farthest most points of the actual paper itself. In a bird's eye view for 3-point perspective, like we did with bird's eye view, your horizon line's on the bottom, which means that your vanishing point for the actual technique is going to have to be up here on the opposite side of your horizon line. Okay, key thing, as we've kind of done with a lot of our perspective concepts, 3-point perspective, now I'm going to start with a line instead of a shape, and my line has to start for the corner of the building coming from my 3rd vanishing point. So remember, 3rd point establishes height, and then your side vanishing points establish width and length of the building. So I'm going to use my ruler, line it up with my 3rd vanishing point, and like we did with a bird's eye view, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I leave a little bit of space so that my corner doesn't touch to that 3rd point up on the top. I want to be able to see a little bit of a gap or a space where the top of the building is going to end. The other thing I would recommend is most buildings are built from the foundation of the ground up. So you're going to want to make sure the center line of your building actually goes below your horizon line. Okay. I've got the corner of my building, so now I go back to the rules that I know apply. I'm going to then use my 2 side vanishing points from the top and the bottom, and I'm going to establish where the 2 sides of my building are going to be starting. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So bottom of that corner and top of that corner. And then what you will see is this establishes the 2 sides of that building as far as the length and the width. I need to figure out the actual height of the building on either side. So now I'm going to go back to my 3rd vanishing point. I'm going to line up my ruler, and then I'm going to establish where I want to see the height of the side of this building on one side and the height of this building on the opposite side. Again, you're doing it correctly if you see your building getting wider at the base for a worm's eye view, and it should get smaller as it gets up towards the top. This is my first building. You will see I don't have to worry about a roof or like the bottom of the building. It goes below the eye level at the horizon line, and we wouldn't see the top based on the angle worm's eye view. You don't see the top of the building, you only see the edges of the corners of the length and the width of the actual sides. My next building, I would start the same way. So I'm going to line up my ruler with my 3rd vanishing point. Now I'm going to establish the center of that building structure. And what I want you to see is I'm kind of using this first line that I started with. A lot of times buildings in a city block are going to end at the same kind of like location as far as front view. So I don't have to draw this line on the bottom going to the left vanishing point for like width. I'm only going to draw the one on the top. Then I'm going to use the opposite vanishing point from the top and bottom for my 2nd building. Again, I'm going to draw this line here to stop because it's going to go through that building, but again, it matches up to that vanishing point. I'm going to do the same thing on this opposite side, but I'm going to stop that line when it hits the front building, but it did go all the way to that point because it would overlap or it hits that solid structure. And then I'm going to decide how wide and long do I want the sides. So I can establish what I want to see here with those 2 areas of this building. Maybe we'll just close this one off so you can see it a little bit in the background. And what you'll see is I've got now the top, the side, this is the length side of that building, and I've got the 2 angles or 2 parts of that design. Very much more of a slant to it, and the farther and farther I get out in 3-point perspective, I'll see more and more and more of a slant. It just really depends on how far or how wide you get your angles. This is also the same reason why a lot of times in 3-point perspective drawings, you don't see vanishing points on your drawing paper. You see them extended like way beyond the drawing surface because it gives you a little bit less of that really sharp angle. Looking at structures, looking at buildings, and kind of making it so it doesn't look like it's as distorted of a slant when you start to make the different shapes come together. So my third building I'm going to kind of establish here. I'm going to do the height. So this line for height has to go up to my third vanishing point. And then again, I would be erasing the excess that I don't need. So I've got, this is one side of my first building or third building, however you want to think of it. That's that one side of that building. Here's another side. I'll kind of shade just the left side of those structures. Here's my third one. And then you'll see on the opposite side, we'll make these just a little bit lighter. I've got each one of those buildings done correctly in the worm's eye view, so you can see the angles and the actual differences of those building structures. Again, if I'm going to start to add in windows, siding, details, I'm going to have to be a little bit patient because all of those details, if I do windows going down this side of a building, I have to use the height vanishing point up on the top. Then I also have to rotate my ruler and I will use the side vanishing point. So again, this takes a little bit more practice, takes a little bit more time. You're gonna have to kind of take your time to make sure your ruler alters back and forth because otherwise some of those details are gonna end up looking very weird because they should match the slant and they should match the actual perspective that we would see with 3-point perspective and exaggerated height. So again, takes a little bit more shifting of your ruler back and forth, but that's what you would see for the actual like worm's eye view. I've got 3 structures. They're all going to the different 3 vanishing points. And then any details that I would add in need to go to those points as well.